Hey, I'm JRLA, and welcome to the Level Up Business Podcast. What if the real reason you're stuck as an entrepreneur isn't because of strategy, it's not because of scale or even skill, but the real reason you're stuck as an entrepreneur is because of misalignment? Well, to help answer this question, I'd like to introduce you to Eleanora Chino. That's because Eleanora helps visionary entrepreneurs bring their boldest ideas to life by removing friction and igniting alignment. Together, Eleanora and I are going to explore why your ideas as a visionary entrepreneur don't always translate into action, and how tools like Kolby can create next level collaboration to help bring your boldest ideas to life. But before we unlock Eleanora's unique wisdom, are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to stand apart? You want to be seen, you want to be heard, you want to be known by your ideal clients so that you can create an even bigger impact with your mission and your message. If this is you, text me right now, 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you how to bring your voice to life, how to use your voice to bring your message and mission to the world through the Level Up Business OS. You see, the Level Up Business OS makes it easy for you to unlock your wisdom, amplify your voice, and publish your book. Now, let's get ready to learn. Let's get ready to grow. Let's get ready to level up together with Eleanora.
Yeah, so I just realized recently, as I kind of started off my own entrepreneurial journey, that a lot of the careers or the jobs that I had prior to now all kind of went back to that entrepreneurial company or the entrepreneurial environment. As I was leading up to university, it was kind of like, oh, I'm going to be a CPA. I'm going to work for this big, KPMG or, one of those big four accounting firms. That was my goal. That was what I thought I wanted to do. And then, enter university and got into that environment. I did my 4 years, got my BCom in accounting, and realized how much
Sounds like it's prison. You did your 4 years. You did your
I did my 4 years, and I realized how much I hated it. I know. So I kind of did my time. So I grew up, my parents are, immigrants to Canada. I'm first generation Canadian. So I grew up with that, the parents' mindset of, work hard, go to school, get a good degree and get a good job and, make it a safe job. So I always had that kind of like at the back of my head when I was going through school and university and even in looking for a job when I first graduated. But none of them spoke to me. Like I would look at the advertisements or at the time, advertisements, there was no LinkedIn way back when. So I looked at the advertisements and, none of them really gave me energy. None of them really spoke to me. None of them really, gave me that like joy and excitement.
Can I pause you real fast? Because you're saying something that I wanted to connect a dot to before. You were like, I thought this is what I wanted, but now you're shifting into a whole different, I would say, intelligence, energy, feeling, emotion. Can you, if you think back, compare and contrast those two perspectives of, we'll call it thought in your head versus dropping in your heart and feeling something, energy, emotion, and how does that play out in the entrepreneurial journey for yourself and perhaps even for other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that, again, with my parents and the upbringing I had, a lot of it was like safe and security, right? Because they came from nothing and they were like, they came to Canada, they found a job and they were safe and they were secure. So I always
What was
had
their
that.
background? What's their
Oh,
background?
my
Where did
parents
they
are
immigrate?
Italian. They're both from Italy. So they came when my dad was 21. My mom was, she was, I think, her 19, something like that. Their parents, brought them to Canada. They met here after 3 months of meeting. They got married, right? Because that's the way you did things back then. And then they started their journey. They started their life. But again, it was always like you can find a job, you have something secure, you're going to get a paycheck every week. You can pay the bills and start your family, start your life. So I've always had that ingrained with me, and it was that's just the mindset that they had. And nothing
Right.
wrong with that. Absolutely. They created a great life for me, and I'm very thankful that they taught me all the things that they have. But again, when I was going through that point in my life where I needed to start thinking about my own career, looking at opportunities where, I was going to be just another number in a corporate
Yep.
environment, that did not excite me. just being another thing, or fighting with others to try and move up the ladder, like that just felt gross to me. Like there was nothing in me that wanted to do that. For me, all the jobs that I had between like high school and university were all in that entrepreneurial environment. And it didn't really dawn on me until recently that that is what actually drew me towards those jobs. It was the fact that they were run by individuals who are looking to do bigger and better things, that they had this vision of, starting from nothing and creating something big for themselves, for their clients, for their families. So, and then when I look at my experience in the last 20 years as strategic coach, what I was doing there was I was in that environment and I was growing myself personally of, how do I help others? How do I continuously grow in my own career path? And listening to all the entrepreneurs and looking at what they're trying to do and all the challenges that they're going through, that's when I was like,
Yep.
oh, I get it. This is what I need to do now. I need to take that jump and I need to be
Right.
able to help entrepreneurs more.
I've always said that if you want to self-develop, if you want to grow personally, if you want to grow professionally, there's two things that you can do. One is work out,
Yep.
because you're going to push yourself beyond the limits than what you think that you can. Go sign up for a half marathon. Go sign up for a marathon, but do it like 9 months out so you can train and get up to that point.
Yep.
Because if you think that you're going to just do the marathon, no, but there's a development that happens along the way.
Yep.
And then the same is true when it comes to entrepreneurship. You're going to the biggest thing, the biggest battles that you have to do as an entrepreneur is not out here. It's here and it's here.
Yep.
It's within. And so as you're talking about your story, your journey, you think about your parents. They met here, right? Separate. They
Yep.
came separate, but 3 months, boom, they're married. It's very similar to like my wife and her parents,
Yep.
both from the Middle East, Lebanon and Syria. Her dad came way earlier than her mom, but it was like a very, they met, and 9 months later, 6 months later, boom, they're married, and they just, they celebrated 50 years, and then he passed. I mean, he was the entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He lived that idea of the American dream, if you will, the immigrant dream. I know you're in Canada, same idea. But if you think back, it's like, okay, one of the things you posted in a recent LinkedIn post, you said success is about alignment. What do you mean by that? Success is about alignment.
Well, if you think about, visionary entrepreneurs always have these great ideas. They have, a million things that they want to get done. They want to be able to help. They're always, for the most part, at least the ones that I know, are always doing things for a bigger purpose. It's not just about the cash, not about it's not about the money that they're going to make, or it's not about the stat. It's about making a bigger purpose in this
What's
world.
the difference between an entrepreneur and a visionary entrepreneur, since you framed your thinking
Yeah.
this way?
So for me, a visionary entrepreneur is the person that is looking to make an impact in the world, right? They're confident in who they are, what they provide, and the capability that they have. They're looking to do more with what they have. They're looking to always help and collaborate. It's not about it's not about the bottom line on their income statement, right? So for me, just an entrepreneur is more of like that that status kind of entrepreneur. That is, they're happy with what they have. They enjoy their lifestyle. They're not looking to necessarily do more or create that impact. They're just happy to provide for their family and go on a couple vacations a year and whatnot. And at 65, they're ready to kind of close up shop and retire. And we all know what retirement means, right? So
That's right. That's the people that I want to hang out with for sure. And I'm
right?
glad you made that distinction, because it's about, for me, it's almost like you just keep shoving your chips back to the middle of
Yeah.
the table, and you keep going all in on the next thing. And that's where also too, I think, when you come back to success is about alignment, but like, what about this idea of balancing the alignment and the risk profile as well? Because I mean, you've taken the entrepreneurial leap
I
yourself.
have. Yep.
But I mean, I want to let's just focus on alignment
Yeah.
and risk and integration, perhaps, because I think when you're out of alignment, that's where the confusion, that's where the conflict, that's where the chaos begins to creep in, and that's also where you start to get a little bit complacent too.
Yes, for sure. And I think like with alignment, like yes, you as the visionary entrepreneur have all these great ideas, but if you don't have that team that's going to help support you to make those visions come to life, they're not going to go anywhere. You're going to leave frustrated. You're going to be, upset with yourself. You're going to be upset with your team because there is no alignment between the two of you. You have visionary entrepreneurs, again, have a million ideas in a day. The question becomes, what's the right one for you and the team at this point in your business? What's the right one that your team can get behind to make sure that they're fully supportive of what that vision is? If there isn't that alignment, you're always going to bump heads. The team is going to feel like they're running into obstacles all the time, right? And it's just another thing for them to do, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I get it, and I want to help support this and make it come to life for you, and continuously make it grow. That for me. And then, you mentioned the risk part. There's a reason why you become an entrepreneur, right? It's not to be complacent. It's to take those risks. And, for those who know Kolby, I'm an 8723. So risk for me is hard. But in these last couple of years, I've realized if I don't take the risk, I personally am not going to be happy with where I am in my life. So, it took a little bit of courage, or a lot of courage, to take that, the jump from leaving an employment, to starting the new company, and to build my own future. So
I want to come back to Kolby just for a second, because it's interesting, the profile, and we use Kolby here. Audrey is a certified Kolby consultant herself. It gives her a lot of energy, and to help people. Because when I did my Kolby back in 2017, it was, and I had done DISC, I had done Myers-Briggs, but Kolby, I would say it hit differently. It resonated differently as to, this is why I am the way I am. This is why I act the way I act. This is why I work the way I work. This is why I think this is why I solve problems the way I solve problems. Take action, right? The whole Kolby MO. But 8723. And I wanted to pause you on this, because I'm thinking of two entrepreneurs that I have connected with within the last few weeks, and we have done their Kolby profile, and I'm working with them, I'm coaching them, and I can tell you, I'm using this as a way to help bring awareness, as they're wanting more information, and I'm like, and I'm a 3294. I'm like, let's just do something. Let's start walking. I'm going to run with you. You're not going to do this by yourself, because I see already early on, after just a couple of conversations, the analysis by paralysis. And this is, I think, also where collaborations now come back into play as well. So when you think about your Kolby profile, 8723, what do you need to be aware of yourself? And for other entrepreneurs who have that MO, what might they need to be aware of? Because for me, it's the exact opposite as a 3294.
Well, you said it's the analysis paralysis, right? So for me, sometimes when I'm making that decision, it takes me a while to get there. I know it's probably a good one, but I need to make sure that I have all my T's crossed, my I's dotted. I have all the information I need to make that decision. And that's me. And so it might take me a little bit longer to take the jump, to move things forward. I have that great idea. And sometimes with my follow through, I want to make sure that everything in the process is completed before I actually can move on to things. But then working with entrepreneurs who are the exact opposite of me, and my husband's one of them, he's a 9 quick start, so I get it. So, we actually, because I understand the way he operates and the way he thinks, and working with other entrepreneurs that are 8, 9s, and 10s, it's that understanding that they don't need that information. For them to move forward, they don't need to have all the information that I need. So I can collect it for myself. I don't necessarily have to share it with them, right? And I have to also give grace to the entrepreneur that has those high quick starts, because they're moving they're moving quick. They're moving all the time. They're coming up with new ideas. They're coming up with new projects. They're meeting new people. They're trying to do a lot more. And that's what brings them excitement, passion, for what they do. But they also, for the most part, don't have that follow through, right?
Yes.
So it becomes, like you said, it becomes that collaborative teamwork where they can have that vision, and then I come in and have that follow through and fact find, where I can, provide the details when needed, if necessary. I know that if I'm going to, research something, a trip, for example, with my husband, he doesn't care where it is. He doesn't care what the details are. He just wants to know when we're going and what he has to pack, right? So, so
Love it.
that's what I love about Kolby. It's not like the other profiles are great, but Kolby's the one that always speaks to me, same as you. Like, it's the one that really helps me understand how people operate. It
Right.
really.
And I think with the work that you're doing now, and it's the framing of 2 points, helping visionary entrepreneurs bring their boldest ideas to life while removing friction and igniting alignment. See, that's why I wanted to pause on the alignment piece for just a second. And then also activating your vision into impact. And to your point of alignment, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think about the work that Audrey and I do together. Visionary, myself, Audrey, integrator, and the Kolby profiles really complement that
Yep.
type of collaboration. But one of the things, like our goal last year was 100% clarity. Like everything that we were doing for 365 days was to have 100% clarity. And if there wasn't 100% clarity, let's get to that, or get as close to 100% clarity, because I think it's a matter of perspective. It's context and framing. It's not what is right or what is wrong. It's just how we're looking at the world. That's number one. This year, though, it was 100% alignment. That was the goal. And because it's the clarity, you build on the clarity to bring the alignment, but then also too, it's coming back to vision. Whenever I gave the vision, shared the vision with Audrey of what I'm looking to do with Level Up Business, and she goes, I will always remember this. She goes, I want to help you bring that vision to life. She was more excited about this than the other business that I had and that she was working in as well, because this is giving her energy. So now come back to the point of helping visionary entrepreneurs bring their boldest ideas to life while removing friction and igniting alignment. Where do you see friction? Because you're looking at this very differently as well. Where do you see visionary entrepreneurs? Where does the friction pop up in their life as an entrepreneur, personally and or professionally?
Well, I think you said it first. It's the clarity. So if you're not clear on what that vision is and where you want it to go, you don't have to figure out the how to get there. You just need to figure out like where it's going. What's the purpose behind it? What's the why you really want to do this? And if your team doesn't understand that, that's where the friction is going to be. That's where the misalignment is. Because again, they're going to come back and be like, oh, this is another thing I have to try and figure out. Right. And you don't want that with your team. You want them to be supportive. You want them to be able to come back and be like, yes, like Audrey wants to work with you on Level Up even more because she's excited about what it's going to bring for you, right? What it's going to bring to the world, what impact it's going to have. Again, going back to impact as a visionary entrepreneur. If you're clear on what that vision is, and you're able to communicate that with your team and have them understand and give them the time to process it too, right? Because for the most part, your team is going to be the opposite of you. So if you're kind of more that high quick start entrepreneur with a team that's more, fact finder follow through, they're going to need time to process that. So if you're going to them with this great idea that's unclear in your own head, you're like, oh, I have this idea, but I'm not quite sure how to flush it out. And here you try and figure it out and pass it off to the team to kind of delegate and figure out. That's where the friction starts. That's where the misalignment happens. And I see that often where entrepreneurs are kind of just like, I have this great idea, now go with it. And then the
Right.
team hates it. Right. And the entrepreneur themselves have to also be open to, feedback from the team. If
Yeah.
their team is, processed it, understands it, and comes back with either questions, they have to make sure that they're not looking at it as obstacles from the team, but more because of their Kolby, it's more of them just asking questions for their own clarity. Right. So a lot of entrepreneurs think that that might be an obstacle when they come back like with their team questioning them. And it's like, well, it's not questioning you. They're just trying to satisfy their own Kolby because they need that knowledge in order for them to move forward.
I think there's something else though too with the questioning that I encourage it. Like, show me
Mhm.
where the blind spots are. Tell me what I can't see. And I'm not in love with my ideas, and my ideas are open to change. But it's just like it starts the. I throw a match into a tinderbox of a campfire. Okay, well, let's just start something, and then we're going to build this thing together. And it might not be 100% clear to begin with, but let's get as close to that clarity, and then continue to work towards that 100% clarity that leads to 100% alignment, because it's the alignment plus action that leads to total transformation. But it's like you can start to see these different areas. When you think about the work that you're doing with entrepreneurs yourself, what what is the unknown unknowns that they need to be aware of that could be their biggest roadblock?
Oh, it's a good question. I think a lot of it goes back to, what is it that their team needs in order to feel supported by this new initiative. I think for them, it's, thinking again, what is the why for them? If they're not clear on that why they want to do this, besides the money factor, it has to be bigger than that, right? So if those are the unknowns, if they're unsure what their why is, if they're unsure in how their team operates and how their team is gonna, and whether or not they have the right who's, right? Do they have the right who's on their team to help make this a reality for them?
I want to come to you just for a second because you talk about you're helping visionary entrepreneurs bring their boldest ideas to life. What's your bold idea? What's your big bold idea?
Um, Ultimately, it's not just to help them, but to help their teams, right? Help their teams be able to understand the entrepreneur better, understand who they're working with, understand their why. So helping kind of with that translation between entrepreneur and team. You know, for the most part, entrepreneurs have great teams in place. They don't necessarily always have that person that is going to help with that translation. So my bigger purpose, my bigger bold idea is helping the team understand how the entrepreneur really thinks, get deep down to what it is that they're trying to accomplish, and help translate that for them.
When you think about your entrepreneurial journey, one of the things, and as it gets back into how you're just communicating yourself, the idea of boldness. What does that mean to you, bold? And why does the world perhaps need more bold now than ever before, specifically coming out of the visionary entrepreneurial
Yeah.
world?
For me, bold, it's it's doing things outside of the box. It's thinking differently. The world is changing so quickly. With all the different AI tools that are out there, with all the different social media platforms, you can't keep up. But doing something bold that's going to create value for others, to help them to simplify their lives, to make an impact to change things. That for me is being bold. Stepping outside of the box, going against the grain, not conforming to what everyone else does. That's being bold to me. Again, I've worked with and have seen so many entrepreneurs do so many great things, and they're
Mm.
always trying to do more to help their community, more to help their clients, and it's that those bold actions that they're taking. Even if they don't know how to help support their client in the moment, they're going to take those challenges that their clients are facing and create something new for them so that they can help support them and create those bigger actions.
You brought up the speed of change. I wrote about that the idea of change in that book right there, Banking on Change. And I'm curious to get your take on this because in 1994, the internet reached the mass consciousness of humanity. And I open up Banking on Change with a very brief history lesson of all the changes that we experienced at a very high macro level. But then on November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT was launched, and now AI is reaching the mass consciousness of humanity. And I believe we're almost in like early internet because then 2000.com bubble burst, and it's
Yeah.
like we're gonna probably have an AI hype cycle. I don't think we're there yet at the pinnacle of the hype cycle, but to come back and reset expectations, how do we navigate that complexity? Thinking about AI, artificial intelligence, and where the intersection of hype, or not the intersection, but where it might be hype and where there really could be help.
Oh, that's a good question. I think one thing is making sure that, well, you're, not being afraid of the AI, the technology, the fast moving pace of everything, because it can be overwhelming. But then also understanding what's right for you in your business, what's right for you and your team. There is a lot of hype out there with the AI stuff that's out, the technologies that are out there, and not everything is going to be useful for you or your team. So I think it's just not getting overwhelmed by it all. I think it's your team understanding that AI is not going to replace them, but AI is going to help them. It's going to make them more efficient. It's going to, make their jobs just a little bit easier, or their work a little bit easier. It's going to help take them to new levels of their own capability. So it's more of a growth mechanism as it is, something that they should be fearful of. And again, there's I don't I love it. I use it. I'm not great at it, but I'm willing to learn it, right? Because I know there's going to be things that's just going to make my life easier. Can I get better at it? Absolutely. Am I excited to get better at it? For sure. But I also know that if I could spiral with it, right? If I'm going down that rabbit hole of trying to figure out what it is because this person used the newest AI technology and you want to figure out how you can incorporate it. But again, it's not something that might be a right fit for you and your company. So just understanding the differences and what's right for you.
It's interesting to see some of the research that's coming out now. November 30th, 2022. Here we are, almost 3 years later, and I think it was Harvard released a report. 95% of AI initiatives are failing to deliver on what the initiative was, and it was almost like, are we just using tools for tools' sake? And it comes back to what you were talking about before. Well, why are we even doing this to begin with in the first place? And
Yep.
what value can this create? Or are we getting lost in our own little AI hype cycles? How can we balance the two there? And then also, I thought you bring up another. Maybe let's actually dive deeper and double click on this. You mentioned that the team, not the resistance to it, but the learning. You're admitting yourself, I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow. Where might there be, and where do you see resistance from teams when it comes to a vision bigger than the present,
Yep.
and then bridging that gap, creating a path forward with the entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think for the team, it's that fear that the AI is going to replace what they do, but in reality, AI is not going to replace the human impact, right? Or the relationships that you have with clients. AI is not
That
going to do.
yes, I'm so glad you because let's keep going there.
Like AI is there to be a useful tool. So I think that's what it comes down to. I think, when you hear automation, you think that the computer is going to do everything for you. The technology is going to take over, and the things that you used to do on a daily basis are no longer going to be something on your list of things to do, right? So it becomes fearful for them. So I think entrepreneurs need to make sure that they're reassuring their team that, AI is not here to replace them, but to help them because again, human impact, that is what AI cannot do. AI will never be able to do that. Seeing a client after not seeing him in person for 3 months or a year, and you offer that hug or that handshake, that's something AI is never going to do. Or you have a company event or client appreciation event. AI is not going to be able to do that, but AI can make the process of creating that event a lot easier on you on the backstage of things. So it's just having them think of it differently, and making sure that they're reassuring them that it's not going to take over.
Where do you see the pendulum might swing back to team humanity? Because it's something that I'm observing, watching, hypothesizing about. As like, for example, we reached the height of team tech, if you will, in 2020, 2021, but now AI is being introduced. I'm also
Yep.
seeing people are longing for. I was talking to an entrepreneur the other day. They were very honest. Like, I'm kind of lonely. Like, I don't have support.
Yep.
And they are involved in a couple of entrepreneurial communities themselves, but
Yep.
there's this like loneliness epidemic that is also being written about right now, and people are longing for real connection, real conversation that
Yep.
goes beyond just the surface level. I mean, maybe there's the opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs to be thinking about it within their own businesses right there. What does that look like?
Absolutely. I think if they have the right team with them. I think if they're putting out the right messaging when they're looking to bring on people, I think if, again, it's more about the impact that they're looking to make in the world as opposed to, looking at their team as an investment, or sorry, as a cost as opposed to an investment. Because your team can feel it. If you're going to only treat your team as like another thing on the expense sheet, your team will feel that. They'll feel that they're just another number. They don't want to be felt like, they don't want to feel like that. They want to be able to feel like they're part of a team. So as the entrepreneur, you got to make sure that you're also putting out that message that it's a culture of love and trust and friendship and growth mindset and capabilities. And it's not just about another number. And I keep going back to that because that's how I felt in, some other jobs that I didn't really love. They were still entrepreneurial, but they made me feel like more of like a number. I had someone, one of my jobs just outside of university where it was a small printing company. Husband and
Mhm.
wife ran it. Again, I came out of university with my BCom in accounting, and I took the first job that I was offered, and it was doing bookkeeping for this company. And the husband was, on the backside of things, and he was, envisioning how the products are going to come out and how he can create new and better printing services for his clients, while the wife was taking care of the books and the finances. But she treated me like, I was just another person in the office. I didn't really matter. It was, she literally, my cubicle was right outside her office. So every time, and my back and computer screen were facing her. So every time she would walk out, it was like looking over my shoulder, like I didn't know what I was doing, or she'd question everything. So it was a lot of micromanaging,
Right.
not creating an environment where I wanted to be. I think I
Mhm.
lasted there maybe 6 weeks, where then I was like, I'm done, I'm out. Because, it's not the environment that, um, an entrepreneur who wants to grow, wants to do more, create that capability, not just for themselves, but for also their team, and help them grow, create a future for their team, and, um, a place where they would want to come to work to every day.
Yes, and that point on culture, I think it's a good place to start wrapping up and go a little bit deeper there, because I believe that when you have a team who is committed to learning together, growing together, that's how you're going to level up together. And it starts with the learning, and the growth comes from the learning, and from that growth, that's the continued expansion and the leveling up. What would you recommend for a visionary entrepreneur do to ensure that they are continuously investing in the growth of not just themselves, but also their team? Because once again, you learn together, you grow
Yeah.
together, you're going to level up together.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think profiles like Kolby, print, all those are helpful. So to help better understand who's on their team. I know obviously in the community that we're both familiar with strategic coach, that is a huge value add, in having that. And I recommend it to all the clients that I work with. The first question I usually ask is, do you know your Kolby? Because I want to better understand how they operate and what information they want or don't want, or how they're going to receive that information. So I think understanding who your team is, and helping them understand each other is
Mhm.
crucial. Because
Yes.
even just for the entrepreneur to know their Colbys is not going to be useful, because they all need to be, like you said, that for collaboration and teamwork, they need to understand how they each operate. So for my first recommendation is doing some of these profiles so you can learn together who you are and how you can work better together.
Yes, and I will take that to the external factor. We've actually started using Colby for prospecting. When we have a prospect that they feel like they might be a good fit for the work that we're doing to help them uh, unlock their wisdom to turn video into a book, we want to understand how they operate, and that has been a huge that it's I think it comes down to where it's understanding, and
Yeah.
understanding comes through clarity, and then clarity leads back to what we were talking about before. It's with the alignment. What would you recommend as we wrap up, Eleonora? The one thing that someone who is watching, who's listening, who continued this far in our conversation, what's the one thing that they can do next to continue to level up as a visionary entrepreneur? Something very small, something very practical, something that they can do right now.
Um, let's see. I think for a visionary entrepreneur, I think it's, again, you have lots of ideas in a day, in a week, in a month. I think it's just being very clear on what your why is and making sure that's communicated with your team. What's your overall why for your business, what you're looking to do, with the impact you want to make? What's the overall why? And then all the ideas will kind of slowly fit in.
I'll can I add to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I write them down. It's like I have a never-ending list of ideas. It's an innovation jar, uh, and it's an innovation jar because I think a lot of times when you talk about ideas, they get put on the quote unquote the back burner. They get put in the parking lot. Well, nothing
Yeah.
ever happens to those. But when you put them in an innovation jar, and then you can come back once a quarter, you revisit what's in the innovate. What are the deposits that were made in the innovation jar, and then how
Yeah.
do those align back to the focus, to the alignment, to the path that was set for the year? Because I've introduced some ideas and I got pushback. Like, that doesn't really align with what we talked about. And then I'm not offended because I mean, just because it's like an idea, once again, don't fall in love with the idea.
Right.
I think is something else as well to really be mindful of, because you can have 1,000 ideas, but you
It,
might have a 1% hit rate, and that's okay. But
that's
that's that 1%. That's the big vision shift right there.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think um, I love that the vision, the jar, idea jar, the idea generator jar. I think that's great to look at them, revisit, because, like I said, you can have 1,000 ideas in a day, but only one might be the right one, the great one that's going to create that impact that you're looking to have. And again, creating that alignment with your team is totally crucial, in my opinion.
Eleanor, if someone's listening to our conversation and they want to continue the conversation that we've started here today, they want to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and say hello?
Yeah, for sure. You can reach me on LinkedIn at Eleanora Chino, or you can also visit my site at tranquilosolutions.com.
Go connect with Eleonora, learn with Eleonora, grow and level up together with Eleonora. Eleonora, thank you so much for joining me for another Level Up Business podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much, JR, for having me.
Thanks again for tuning in to learn, to grow, to level up together today with Eleonora. Before we wrap up, I have a question for you. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to stand apart? You want to be seen, you want to be known, you want to be heard by your ideal clients so that you can take your business to the next level. If this is you, I invite you to text me, 832-240-1922. Text me right now because I want to teach you how you can use your voice to bring your message and your mission to the world through the Level Up Business OS. You see, the Level Up Business OS makes it easy for you to unlock your wisdom, amplify your voice, publish your book, so that you can make an even bigger impact on the world around you.